The opulent penthouse suite, bathed in the soft glow of 1,000 crystal chandeliers, felt suffocating. Arthur Vance, a man whose life was a meticulously crafted tapestry of success, found himself adrift in a sea of shadows. Not the shadowy figures lurking in the corners of his vast empire, but the shadows clinging to the edges of his own soul. The rhythmic pulse of the city, usually a comforting hum, now echoed the frantic drumming in his chest. He traced the intricate carvings on his mahogany desk, each line a testament to the relentless pursuit of his ambition. But beneath the veneer of success, a tremor of unease had begun to crack the surface. His carefully constructed reality, the one he presented to the world, was crumbling. It wasn't the usual anxieties of wealth and power, the constant fear of losing control. This was different. This was the insidious whisper of a hidden truth, a truth that threatened to shatter the carefully sculpted persona he had meticulously maintained for decades. A truth that, if exposed, could unravel not just his empire, but the very foundation of his existence. The catalyst was a file, discovered tucked away in a forgotten corner of his vault. Not a document filled with financial reports or market analysis, but a chilling collection of cryptic clues, fragmented memories, and faded photographs. It was as if a long-lost chapter of his life had been unearthed, a chapter he had meticulously buried. The file wasn't just about uncovering a past. It was about confronting a past that had a disturbing, almost ghostly grip on his present. This wasn't simply a tale of uncovering a buried secret. It was a descent into the labyrinth of one man's fragmented self. It was about the delicate balance between the carefully crafted facade and the raw, unfiltered truth that lay dormant beneath. It was about the relentless pursuit of ambition, the price of power, and the inevitable confrontation with the ghosts of one's own making. It was a journey into the heart of a man consumed by the pursuit of his own creation, and ultimately, the confrontation with the unknown. The journey, however, wasn't a mere detective story. This was a quest for something more profound, something that resonated with the subtle anxieties of anyone who had ever felt the weight of a secret, the fear of the unknown, and the haunting pull of a past they desperately tried to forget. It was a story of self-discovery, a story about the uncomfortable truth of who we are, a story that mirrored the unease that lay dormant within many of us. Yet the file wasn't just about the past. It was a mirror reflecting the present, distorting the familiar contours of Arthur's life. It illuminated the intricate web of connections, the hidden alliances, and the subtle manipulations that had shaped his rise to power. He began to see the intricate dance between the man he presented to the world and the man he truly was. A dance fraught with peril and deception. This wasn't just about secrets, it was about a profound disconnect. Consider for a moment the exquisite carvings on his desk, a testament to his fastidious nature. They represented a meticulous control, a desire to shape every detail of his existence. But what if those very details masked a far deeper truth? What if the carvings, while beautiful, served to obscure the raw emotions and vulnerabilities that lay beneath? This wasn't just about uncovering a hidden file. It was about confronting the very nature of control, the subtle ways it manifests, and the often unacknowledged sacrifices it demands. Another crucial layer was the concept of self-deception. Arthur, in his relentless pursuit of power, had constructed a reality that shielded him from the painful truths. He'd built an elaborate fortress of self-assurance, but the file exposed the cracks in its foundation. This wasn't about being wrong, it was about the subtle, often unconscious ways we all construct protective walls around our hearts. These walls, while necessary for survival, can also imprison us, preventing us from fully experiencing the joys and sorrows of life. Think about a sculptor meticulously shaping a piece of marble. The final form is beautiful, but the process, involves chipping away at the excess, revealing the hidden form within. Arthur's journey mirrored this process. The file, like a sculptor's chisel, was revealing the raw, unrefined essence of the man beneath the polished exterior. He was confronted with the uncomfortable truth that his own carefully crafted narrative might be a carefully constructed lie. This was a painful, yet necessary step towards self-awareness. Now consider how this applies when you face a similar dilemma. Do you find yourself constantly striving to control every detail of your life, often at the expense of genuine connection? Are you meticulously crafting a persona to present to the world while suppressing your true emotions? The file, in a way, serves as a wake-up call. It's a reminder that true strength lies not in controlling every aspect of our lives, but in embracing the complexities of our humanity. It's about acknowledging the shadows within, accepting the vulnerabilities, and striving to create a life that is both authentic and meaningful. Arthur's predicament wasn't solely about his past. It was a profound exploration of the human condition. His meticulously constructed world, while seemingly impenetrable, was ultimately vulnerable to the subtle erosion of doubt. This highlighted a crucial truth. The very act of building walls, while offering a sense of security, can also stifle the growth of genuine connection. Think of a fortress, impregnable from afar, but ultimately echoing with the emptiness of isolation. Consider the case of a successful entrepreneur consumed by the demands of her business. She built a formidable empire, a monument to her ambition. Yet in her relentless pursuit of progress, she neglected the nurturing of her relationships, the cultivation of genuine human connections. Consequently, the once vibrant social life withered, replaced by an isolating pursuit of profit. The walls she built, intended to shield her from potential harm, paradoxically isolated her from the very experiences that enrich life. Building on this, however, lies another critical facet. The file, in its cryptic nature, became a metaphor for the often unarticulated, unspoken anxieties that fester beneath the surface of seemingly perfect lives. These anxieties, often subtle, are like dormant seeds, capable of sprouting into doubt and fear when confronted with unexpected events. These moments of uncertainty can be unsettling, but they also provide an opportunity for introspection, for confronting the core of what truly matters. Now consider how this applies when you face a challenge in your personal life. Perhaps you're experiencing a crisis in a relationship, a period of intense professional pressure, or a personal struggle. How do you respond to these moments? Do you retreat into yourself, constructing walls to protect your vulnerability? Or do you embrace the discomfort, allowing yourself to be exposed, to be vulnerable, and to explore the depths of your own experience? Furthermore, the file hinted at a more sinister force at play. It wasn't just about a fragmented past, it was about the potential for manipulation, the subtle ways in which others can exploit our vulnerabilities. This isn't simply about the machinations of villains. It's about recognizing the capacity for darkness within ourselves and others. It's about confronting the shadow side of humanity, not to fear it, but to understand it. Consider the analogy of a powerful current. It can be harnessed for progress, yet it can also unleash destruction. Similarly, our emotions, though capable of driving us toward greatness, can also lead us astray if not properly understood and managed. The file, in its cryptic nature, became a call to recognize the power of emotions, both positive and negative, and to approach them with an open heart, not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. Arthur's predicament, however, wasn't just about personal demons. It illuminated the profound impact of hidden narratives on the very fabric of society. Consider the case of a renowned architect whose iconic buildings, symbols of progress, masked a history of unethical practices. The breathtaking structures, meticulously planned and executed, were merely a facade, a sophisticated cover for compromises made in the pursuit of profit. The facade, while impressive, ultimately concealed a darker truth. This, in turn, raises a critical question. How often are we, in our daily lives, seduced by the polished exterior, overlooking the often unseen realities beneath? Furthermore, the file's cryptic nature underscored the power of ambiguity. It wasn't just about uncovering specific facts, but about grappling with the inherent uncertainties of life. Think of a clouded landscape. The details may be obscured, but the overall impression, the general sense of the place, remains. This, in essence, is the power of intuition, of recognizing patterns even when the specifics remain elusive. Now, consider how this applies when you're faced with a confusing situation. Instead of fixating on the details you don't understand, focus on the overall feeling, the prevailing sense. In contrast, consider an overly structured life, one meticulously planned down to the smallest detail. While seemingly efficient, it can be stifling, suppressing the spontaneous, the unexpected. These unexpected events, while potentially disruptive, can also be incredibly enriching, offering opportunities for growth and adaptability. This, in a sense, is the vital tension between order and chaos. We must embrace both, recognizing the value of both in shaping our experiences. Ultimately, Arthur's struggle was a microcosm of a larger truth. His meticulously crafted world, while offering a deceptive sense of control, was ultimately vulnerable to the unpredictable nature of life itself. This, in turn, points to the necessity of embracing vulnerability. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's a conduit to connection, a pathway to empathy, and a catalyst for genuine growth. It's the acknowledgement that we are not islands, but interconnected parts of a greater whole. Consider the roots of a mighty oak tree. While they are firmly anchored, they also adapt to the ever-shifting currents of the earth. This adaptability is crucial for survival, for resilience, and for profound connection. Consequently, the file's cryptic nature, far from being an obstacle, became a metaphor for the complexities of the human experience. It highlighted the importance of embracing the unknown, of recognizing the value of ambiguity, and of understanding that the journey itself, rather than the destination, often holds the greatest rewards. It's a reminder that our lives are not always linear. They are a tapestry woven with threads of both light and shadow, of order and chaos, of control and surrender. Arthur's descent into this labyrinth of doubt wasn't a solitary experience. It mirrored the broader human tendency to compartmentalize our lives, to construct narratives that, while seemingly comprehensive, often omit critical details. Consider the meticulous filing system of a historian, meticulously cataloging every document, every artifact, yet potentially overlooking the significance of a single, seemingly insignificant letter. This oversight, though seemingly trivial, could fundamentally alter the interpretation of historical events. In essence, the file acted as a catalyst, forcing Arthur to confront the gaps in his self-constructed narrative. This, in turn, illuminated a crucial point. Our narratives, while essential for understanding ourselves and navigating the world, are inherently incomplete. They are, at best, snapshots, offering partial views of a far more intricate reality. Now consider how this applies when you face a challenging decision. Do you rely solely on the limited information readily available, or do you actively seek out alternative perspectives, even those that might initially seem unsettling? Furthermore, Arthur's struggle highlighted the subtle ways in which our biases and preconceptions can shape our perceptions. He had, unconsciously, created a narrative that aligned with his desired self-image. This wasn't necessarily malicious. It was a natural human tendency. Think of a painter who, while depicting a landscape, inevitably incorporates elements of their own emotional state. Their interpretation, while sincere, is still filtered through their subjective lens. Building on this, however, lies an important distinction. Arthur's bias was not merely artistic interpretation, it was a deliberate attempt to control the narrative of his life. This, in essence, was a means of self-preservation, a way to manage the often overwhelming complexity of human experience. Yet this controlled narrative, while offering a sense of security, also created a significant disconnect from the raw, unfiltered truths of his existence. Consequently, the file acted as a disruptive force, challenging the foundations of his carefully constructed world. It forced him to confront the inherent contradictions and ambiguities within his life, leading him to question the very nature of his reality. Conversely, consider a scientist diligently testing a hypothesis. They meticulously collect data, analyzing each piece of evidence, yet they must remain open to the possibility that their initial assumptions might be flawed. This openness to revision is crucial for scientific progress and, in this case, for personal growth. Ultimately, Arthur's encounter with the file was a powerful metaphor for the transformative potential of confronting our own biases and preconceptions. It urged him to question the narratives he had created and to embrace the complexities and contradictions inherent in the human experience. This, in turn, highlighted the importance of a willingness to confront discomfort and uncertainty in life. Arthur's struggle, however, wasn't just about the burden of secrets. It was about the insidious nature of self-imposed limitations. Consider a skilled musician, gifted with a remarkable talent, yet plagued by self-doubt. Their potential, a vibrant melody waiting to be played, remains muted by the anxieties of failure. They are afraid to truly express themselves, to push beyond the boundaries of their perceived limitations. This fear, a silent chord in their heart, prevents them from reaching their full potential. Instead of focusing solely on the external pressures, we must examine the inner landscape. The file, in its cryptic nature, became a mirror reflecting the inner conflicts that often fuel our self-imposed limitations. These limitations are frequently rooted in deeply ingrained beliefs, often developed in childhood or shaped by past experiences. These beliefs, though potentially harmful, are often deeply entrenched within our psyche, shaping our perspectives and influencing our actions. Now, consider how this applies when you face a challenge in your career. Do you limit yourself to the confines of your perceived abilities, or do you actively seek opportunities to expand your skills and knowledge? Are you willing to step outside your comfort zone and embrace the unknown? This willingness to step into the unknown is vital, not just for professional growth, but for personal development as well. Furthermore, Arthur's journey highlighted the profound impact of a lack of self-compassion. He was so focused on projecting an image of perfection that he failed to acknowledge his own vulnerabilities. This lack of self-compassion manifested in a relentless pursuit of external validation, a constant need to prove himself worthy. Think of a sculptor painstakingly shaping a piece of marble. If they are unforgiving of imperfections, the final product may never reach its full potential. They need to embrace the process, acknowledging that imperfections are part of the journey. Building on this, however, is the understanding that self-compassion doesn't equate to self-indulgence. It's about recognizing our inherent worth, our inherent value, regardless of our imperfections. It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would extend to a cherished friend. It's about acknowledging that mistakes are part of the learning process, that setbacks are inevitable, and that we are worthy of love and acceptance simply for being ourselves. Consequently, Arthur's struggle became a potent metaphor for the universal human experience. It was a call to embrace our imperfections, to acknowledge our vulnerabilities, and to cultivate self-compassion. Only by embracing these aspects of ourselves can we truly unlock our potential and embark on a journey of authentic growth. This, in turn, has profound implications for our relationships and our overall well-being. Arthur's predicament, however, went beyond a mere clash of identities. It illuminated a deeper truth about the human condition, the often unacknowledged tension between our public personas and our private realities. This dissonance, often subtle, can manifest in various ways. Consider the meticulously curated social media profiles of many individuals. They present idealized versions of their lives, carefully crafted to evoke admiration and envy. Yet, behind the carefully posed pictures and perfectly worded captions, a less than perfect reality might exist. These curated online personas, while seemingly harmless, can sometimes lead to a profound disconnect between the person we project and the person we truly are. Moreover, this disconnect isn't always malicious. It can stem from a desire to conform, to societal expectations, to fit in, to be accepted. Think of the pressure many feel to present a certain image at work, to project an aura of competence and confidence. This pressure, while often subtle, can be profoundly impactful. It can lead to a suppression of authentic self-expression, a reluctance to reveal vulnerabilities, and a pervasive sense of unease. This unease, if left unchecked, can fester and negatively impact our overall well-being. Now consider how this applies when you face a social situation. Do you feel compelled to maintain a specific facade, or do you allow yourself to be more authentic? Another crucial layer to this dilemma is the concept of societal pressures. The expectations and norms of our communities can significantly influence how we present ourselves. These pressures can vary greatly depending on factors such as cultural background, socioeconomic status, and professional field. For example, a young professional in a highly competitive industry might feel compelled to maintain a persona of relentless ambition, even if it clashes with their personal values. This pressure to conform can be a significant source of internal conflict. Consequently, this internal conflict can manifest in various ways, including stress, anxiety, and feelings of inadequacy. These feelings can linger, potentially impacting relationships, self-esteem, and overall mental well-being. Conversely, individuals who embrace their authentic selves, regardless of societal expectations, often experience a greater sense of fulfillment and inner peace. They find a stronger sense of self-acceptance and a more profound connection with those around them. Now consider how this applies when you face a difficult social situation. Do you allow societal expectations to dictate your behavior, or do you prioritize your authentic self? This intricate dance between our public and private selves often mirrors the delicate balance between ambition and authenticity. Consider the artist who meticulously crafts a masterpiece, each stroke a testament to their skill. Yet the process itself, the moments of struggle and frustration, the quiet contemplation and the bursts of inspiration, remain largely unseen. The final product, the outward expression, often overshadows the arduous journey that led to it. This, in essence, is the human experience. Instead of viewing this as a dichotomy, a stark opposition, we should recognize it as a spectrum. A spectrum where authenticity and ambition, while distinct, can coexist, enriching and complementing one another. The artist, driven by ambition, must also maintain an unwavering connection to their authentic voice, their unique perspective. Only then can the art truly resonate. Now consider how this applies when you face a challenging professional situation. Are you willing to present your best self while also acknowledging the moments of doubt, the periods of learning, and the setbacks that inevitably occur? Are you able to embrace the full spectrum of human experience rather than attempting to project a flawless, unblemished image? This recognition of the full spectrum fosters a more nuanced understanding of both yourself and the world around you. Another crucial layer is the recognition of the power of vulnerability, a willingness to be open, to reveal our imperfections, often fosters deeper connections. Think of a mentor who, through their vulnerability, inspires their mentee to embrace their own unique strengths. Their openness creates a safe space for the mentee to grow, to learn, and to flourish. Conversely, a rigid, unyielding exterior, while potentially appearing strong, can often build walls that hinder genuine connection and growth. Furthermore, this interplay of public and private selves is intrinsically linked to our sense of self-worth. When we prioritize external validation over internal acceptance, we risk becoming susceptible to the fluctuations of others' opinions. This creates a precarious foundation for self-esteem. Instead, by nurturing our internal sense of worth, we become less reliant on external validation. This doesn't mean ignoring the opinions of others, but rather it means recognizing our intrinsic value independent of them. This internal strength provides a solid foundation for navigating the complexities of life. Ultimately, the key lies in finding a healthy equilibrium, a balance where ambition doesn't overshadow authenticity, where vulnerability doesn't equate to weakness, and where our public selves and private realities coexist harmoniously. This balance, this equilibrium, is a testament to our resilience, a reflection of our capacity for growth, and a promise of a richer, more fulfilling life. This internal conflict, this tug-of-war between the perceived and the real, often manifests in our relationships. Consider a couple deeply in love, yet their interactions are riddled with unspoken resentments and unmet needs. Their public displays of affection might mask a growing chasm of emotional distance. Their carefully constructed image of a harmonious partnership obscures the underlying anxieties and unmet desires. This highlights the crucial role of open, honest communication in fostering genuine connections. Instead of merely focusing on surface-level interactions, we must delve into the unspoken anxieties. These anxieties, often rooted in past experiences, can manifest as subtle patterns of behavior. Perhaps a partner consistently avoids deep conversations or withdraws emotionally during stressful periods. These patterns, though seemingly minor, can signal a deeper need for emotional safety and understanding. Furthermore, this tension between the public and private self is mirrored in our professional lives. A successful executive might project an image of unwavering confidence, yet harbor anxieties about their competence or their place within the company hierarchy. This internal conflict can lead to a cycle of self-sabotage, where the individual unconsciously undermines their own success to protect their fragile ego. This is a crucial consideration for anyone striving for professional success. Now consider how this applies when you face a challenging interpersonal dynamic. Are you allowing your fear of judgment to dictate your actions, or are you willing to embrace vulnerability and authenticity even when it feels uncomfortable? This willingness, this courage to be imperfect, is often the key to fostering deeper, more meaningful connections. Another crucial layer is the concept of self-imposed limitations. These limitations, often rooted in past experiences or societal pressures, can manifest as self-doubt or a fear of failure. They can restrict our ability to fully embrace our potential and to pursue our passions. The fear of judgment, the fear of not measuring up, can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. A person who consistently doubts their abilities may indeed underperform. Conversely, someone who trusts their innate worth and potential is more likely to reach their goals. Consequently, recognizing these internal conflicts, understanding their origins, and actively working to address them is paramount for personal growth and fulfilling relationships. Addressing these conflicts isn't about eliminating all anxieties, but about acknowledging and managing them constructively. This process allows us to engage with the world with greater authenticity and resilience. This intricate interplay between our perceived and actual selves isn't confined to personal relationships or professional endeavors. It profoundly impacts our understanding of the world around us. Consider a traveler venturing into a new culture. They might initially perceive the customs and traditions through a lens shaped by their own background, overlooking subtle nuances or misinterpreting the true intentions behind certain practices. This initial perception, while understandable, can lead to misjudgments and misunderstandings. In contrast, a more open-minded approach, a willingness to step outside the comfort zone of preconceived notions, allows for a richer, more profound understanding. This willingness to question assumptions fosters empathy and enriches the experience. Now consider how this applies when you encounter a new idea or perspective. Do you automatically dismiss it based on existing beliefs, or do you strive to understand the underlying rationale behind it? Furthermore, this phenomenon often plays out in our interactions with authority figures. We might instinctively perceive a powerful figure as intimidating or unapproachable based on their position or title. This perception, however, can obscure our ability to recognize their humanity or acknowledge any potential vulnerabilities they might possess. This tendency can hinder constructive dialogue and limit our capacity for genuine connection. Consider a student encountering a challenging professor. Preconceived notions of authority might prevent the student from seeking clarification or support, potentially hindering their academic progress. Building on this, consider the role of media in shaping perceptions. We are constantly bombarded with images and narratives that, while often compelling, may not reflect reality. The carefully crafted narratives often portray simplified versions of complex situations, obscuring important context or critical details. Consequently, we might develop skewed perceptions of events, individuals, or even entire cultures without consciously recognizing the underlying biases or omissions. Conversely, actively seeking out diverse perspectives and critically evaluating information helps us develop a more nuanced understanding of the world around us. Another crucial aspect is the role of our own emotional baggage in shaping our perceptions. Our past experiences, both positive and negative, can color our interpretations of the present. Perhaps a past disappointment has led to a reluctance to trust certain individuals or situations. This emotional baggage, while often unconscious, can significantly impact our interactions and relationships. Recognizing these emotional patterns allows us to approach situations with greater clarity and objectivity. This inherent tendency to simplify complex realities, to reduce intricate landscapes to easily digestible narratives, is a fundamental aspect of human cognition. Consider a child's initial understanding of a vast forest. At first, it might be perceived as a collection of trees, a simple grouping of shapes and colors. Only with time and exploration does the child grasp the intricate web of life within. The interconnectedness of roots, the symphony of sounds, the hidden creatures. Similarly, our initial perceptions, while necessary for navigating the world, often fall short of capturing the full complexity of reality. Paradoxically, this simplification can sometimes be a protective mechanism. Facing overwhelming information, we often instinctively filter and condense, creating manageable mental models. Think of a scientist meticulously analyzing a complex chemical reaction. To understand the process, they break it down into smaller, more comprehensible parts. This simplification allows for focused study and deeper understanding, However, this reductionist approach, while often valuable, can also lead to a distorted view of the whole. Now, consider how this applies when you encounter a new idea or experience. Do you initially try to place it within existing frameworks, or do you instead embrace the possibility of a novel perspective? This willingness to consider different viewpoints, to examine things from multiple angles, is crucial for a more complete understanding. Another crucial layer in this process is the influence of our personal biases. These biases, often stemming from our unique backgrounds and experiences, act as filters, shaping our perceptions and interpretations. Imagine a historian examining a historical document. Their own perspectives, influenced by their cultural background or political leanings, can subtly shape their interpretation of the text. This doesn't necessarily mean their interpretation is inaccurate, but rather that it's filtered through their unique lens. Acknowledging these biases is essential for a more objective understanding. Consequently, a willingness to acknowledge the limitations of our own perspectives is paramount. We must actively seek out diverse viewpoints and challenge our assumptions. By cultivating a more nuanced understanding of the world, we can move beyond simple narratives and embrace the rich tapestry of reality. This, in turn, fosters empathy and a deeper appreciation for the complexity of human experience. Conversely, a rigid adherence to simplified narratives can result in a narrow and potentially inaccurate perspective. This tendency towards simplified narratives, though often helpful, can also lead to a disturbing lack of nuance. Consider a complex political debate. Frequently, the issues are reduced to simplistic slogans or sound bites, obscuring the intricate web of factors driving the conflict. This simplification, while potentially appealing to a broad audience, often fails to capture the subtleties and complexities of the situation. Instead of viewing this as a mere deficiency, we should recognize it as a reflection of the inherent limitations of human perception. We are, after all, limited by the capacity of our minds to simultaneously process a multitude of variables. This cognitive constraint compels us to prioritize certain aspects, inevitably overlooking others. Think of a botanist meticulously studying a single flower. They may discern intricate details, but they might inadvertently overlook the larger ecosystem surrounding it. Now consider how this applies when you face a personal conflict. Do you attempt to immediately categorize the situation based on past experiences, or do you allow yourself to explore the possibility of multiple perspectives? This willingness to entertain alternative viewpoints is essential for fostering a more comprehensive understanding. Furthermore, this tendency to simplify can manifest in our personal relationships. A close friend might express a complex emotional issue. We might, in an attempt to offer support, immediately seek to apply a pre-existing framework, perhaps based on a similar situation we've encountered previously. This, while well-intentioned, can potentially miss the unique context of their current experience. A more empathetic approach might involve actively listening without judgment, focusing on understanding their perspective without imposing our own. Consequently, this inclination to simplify can lead to a regrettable lack of empathy. Consider a struggling artist whose work is dismissed as unconventional by critics. Their unique vision, their personal struggles, are overlooked in favor of a superficial assessment. This lack of empathy, while potentially rooted in a desire for objectivity, can have a detrimental impact on the individual and their creative expression. Conversely, fostering a willingness to engage with complexity can lead to a deeper understanding of the human experience. This involves an appreciation for the intricate interplay of factors that shape our thoughts, feelings, and actions. It's about recognizing that we are all multifaceted beings, driven by a multitude of motivations and shaped by a unique tapestry of experiences. The threads of our exploration thus far have woven a tapestry of interconnected insights. We've traversed the landscapes of self-perception, the complexities of human interaction, and the subtle forces shaping our realities. Conceptually, imagine a vast, unfolding panorama, each element a carefully constructed facade, a hidden file, a whispered secret, contributing to a larger, more nuanced portrait. This isn't merely a collection of disparate pieces, it's an intricate composition, revealing a harmonious, if sometimes unsettling, whole. Consider the echoes of these explorations resonating within your own experiences. Have you found yourself caught in the trap of presenting a meticulously crafted image, a carefully curated facade, while simultaneously suppressing the authenticity that lies within? Or perhaps you've encountered situations where the subtle, often unspoken anxieties were more potent than any overt conflict. These are not isolated incidents, they are recurring patterns, often woven into the very fabric of our lives. Reflecting on this journey so far, we've navigated the labyrinthine corridors of our own minds, encountering the shadows that dance within. We've confronted the limitations of our perceptions, recognizing that our narratives, while essential, are often incomplete. This awareness, this acknowledgement of the intricate dance between the apparent and the real, is not a source of despair, but a catalyst for growth. It's a recognition that the journey itself, with its complexities and uncertainties, holds the key to a more profound understanding of ourselves and the world around us. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider the cumulative effect of these insights. They coalesce into a potent message, embracing the totality of human experience, recognizing its inherent complexities, and cultivating a deeper understanding of our own internal landscapes. This, in essence, is not about eradicating the shadows, but about illuminating them, about recognizing their presence without succumbing to their influence. It's about moving forward, not as flawless figures in a meticulously crafted narrative, but as complex, evolving individuals capable of embracing the full spectrum of human experience. Arthur's journey, a descent into the labyrinth of his own fragmented self, ultimately illuminated a profound truth about the human condition, the delicate dance between the meticulously crafted facade and the raw, unfiltered truth that lies beneath. This intricate interplay, this delicate balance, is not unique to Arthur. It's a shared experience, a fundamental aspect of the human narrative. We all, in our own ways, construct narratives, create personas, and strive to present a specific image to the world. The challenge, however, lies not in suppressing the complexities that lie within, but in embracing them. This journey, mirrored in the hidden file and the cryptic clues, wasn't merely about uncovering a buried secret. It was about confronting the very nature of our own internal landscapes. It's about recognizing the inevitable tension between the image we project and the reality we experience, between the carefully sculpted exterior and the often unseen, deeply felt internal world. This tension, far from being a source of weakness, is a testament to our resilience, a reflection of our capacity for growth. The key, therefore, lies not in eliminating the shadows, but in acknowledging their presence. It's about recognizing the inherent complexities of the human experience, embracing the full spectrum of emotions, and accepting the inherent imperfections that make us uniquely human. This isn't about abandoning our ambitions or our need for structure. It's about integrating them with a deeper sense of self-awareness, a more profound understanding of our internal landscape. The path forward, illuminated by Arthur's experience, is not about achieving a flawless, unblemished existence, but about embracing the imperfections, the vulnerabilities, and the uncertainties that make up the very essence of our being. This journey requires a willingness to confront discomfort, to acknowledge the complexities, and to navigate the uncertainties with courage and compassion. It's a journey of self-discovery, a pilgrimage into the heart of our own being. In the quiet moments of reflection, we find the strength to confront the shadows that dance within us, to illuminate the complexities, and to embrace the multifaceted nature of our humanity. This is where true growth begins, in the recognition of our own inherent worth, independent of external validation or societal pressures. This, then, is the enduring legacy of Arthur's journey, a call to embrace the complexities of our internal landscapes, to find the balance between our carefully constructed narratives and the raw truth within. The true practice begins now, in the quiet moments of introspection, in the acceptance of our imperfections, and in the cultivation of a more profound understanding of ourselves and the world around us. The silence in the penthouse had grown oppressive. Arthur Vance stood motionless before the mirror, unsure whether it reflected the man he had been or merely the ghost of who he thought he was. His reflection bore the marks of power, tailored lines, polished steel in his eyes, a presence that had long dominated boardrooms and headlines. But beneath the tailored suit and the cultivated charisma, something fragile stirred, something he could no longer ignore. It was nearly midnight, when the elevator dinged softly, disrupting the stillness like a minor chord struck in a minor symphony. He hadn't summoned anyone. His security systems were designed to prevent unexpected guests. And yet, there she was, the little girl, the same child whose voice had haunted his waking thoughts and invaded his sleep, her whisper still clinging to his memory. He forged your birth certificate. She stood at the edge of the room, barely visible, her silhouette bathed in the golden wash of the chandelier light. Not spectral, not an apparition, real, tangible. Yet her presence felt like a rupture in the fabric of reality. "You found it," she said, stepping forward. Arthur's voice faltered. "Who are you?" She looked at him with ancient eyes far too knowing for her age. "The question isn't who I am," she said. "It's who you are, and who you were meant to be." He sank into the leather chair behind his desk, his world unspooling like a frayed reel of film. The girl placed a small, worn envelope on the table before him. Inside, another fragment, a photograph, a man he did not recognize holding a baby. The inscription on the back read, "To my son, before they take you from me." Arthur's breath caught. "Your life," she said, "isn't the first story you were meant to live. It's the one they wrote for you when the truth was too dangerous to leave intact." The room spun, time folded. The polished empire he had built now felt like a gilded cage, constructed not just by ambition, but by lies someone else had, authored long before he understood the rules of the game. The girl turned, her voice fading behind her. "It's not too late to reclaim it, but you'll have to choose." He was alone again, but no tune altered. Morning arrived, not with clarity, but with a lingering fog. The cityscape outside Arthur's penthouse gleamed with confidence, ambition, progress. But inside, uncertainty had rooted itself like a parasitic vine wrapping around the base of his soul. He returned to the vault, not for the file this time, but for something else, something he didn't know he had been keeping. A sealed letter addressed to A.V., written in a trembling hand. It had no postmark, no return address. The handwriting was familiar and foreign all at once. He tore it open with trembling fingers. The words inside were simple. "I made a choice I thought would protect you, but in doing so, I condemned you to live a life that was never yours. If you found this, I am gone. And the truth, as painful as it may be, is now your burden to carry or bury again. E.M. E.M. The initials sparked a flicker of memory. Not a parent, not An enemy, a name that had once existed in the margins, redacted from old documents, erased from photographs. Eliza Morrow, the woman who had mysteriously disappeared decades ago, the woman once whispered about in boardrooms and archives, always spoken of in hushed tones and trailing silences. She had been more than a footnote. She had been central, and suddenly Arthur remembered, not clearly, but like light filtering through stained glass. He had seen her once, as a boy. He remembered her, scent, lavender and charcoal, a woman who had looked at him not with ambition or expectation, but with sorrow. Was she his mother? The seed of doubt exploded into bloom. Everything, the companies, the titles, the photographs, the media portrayals, suddenly seemed like performance art on a stage he'd never auditioned for. Who had built this life? And who had sacrificed theirs to make it possible? He understood now. The file wasn't the revelation. He was the puzzle, and the question wasn't simply, what is the truth? It was, can I survive it? The city pulsed below, relentless, indifferent, alive. Arthur Vance, for the first time, wondered what it meant to live not as a titan, but as a man finally ready to remember. Arthur stared at the letter in his hands long. After the ink had ceased to mean words, the paper felt heavier than parchment, as if it carried not just information, but consequences. The name Eliza Morrow floated in his mind like a specter surfacing after decades of silence. He had spent his entire adult life manipulating perception, managing threats, extinguishing risk. Yet this single page, this fragile script, was more dangerous than any corporate rival or political adversary. The room no longer felt like his. The penthouse, once a monument to his control, now resembled a mausoleum of someone else's. Dream. The carved mahogany desk, the floor-to-ceiling windows, the curated art, it all looked hollow. Eliza Morrow. That name carried history, scandal, whispers of betrayal in the marble halls of the family's estate. She had vanished when Arthur was a child. Official records painted her as a disgraced family friend, unstable, perhaps even criminal. But in that singular memory, the fleeting image of a woman whose eyes mirrored his own, he saw something different. He saw pain and love and sacrifice. He sat down slowly, turning the letter over as though more answers might bleed through the back. He reached for the file again. Now it was no longer an object of fear. It was a compass. Inside the manila folder, tucked between fragmented photographs and cryptic notes, was something new. A map, hand-drawn, smudged, leading away from the city and toward a place called Briar Hollow. Arthur's mind resisted, clinging to the life he knew, board meetings, legacy foundations, shareholder calls. But a deeper part of him, the one that had stirred when the girl whispered, pulled him in another direction. He had spent his entire life avoiding the question of origin. Now, it was the only question that mattered. He opened a secure drawer, pulled out a rarely used passport, and booked a one-way flight to Vermont. No assistance, no announcements. He told no one, not even the woman he had lived with for 7 years, especially not her, because he didn't know who he would be when he returned. If he returned, Briar Hollow wasn't on most maps. A whisper of a town nestled in the cold arms of northern Vermont, where time moved with the patience of moss. As his rented black sedan crept along the winding dirt road, Arthur saw the landscape change. Steel and glass giving way to wood, and stone progressed to memory. The house emerged like a breath held too long. Perched atop a hill, it was more ruin than residence now. Vines coiled through the shutters, windows bore the fractures of time, and the porch sagged under the weight of years unkindly past. But it wasn't the house that stopped Arthur in his tracks. It was the overwhelming sense of déjà vu. He had been here before, as a child, in a dream. He approached the door, heart pounding like a fist against his ribs. The door creaked open before he touched it. Inside, dust blanketed everything like ash after a quiet fire, and then a whisper, soft, feminine. You came. A woman stood in the shadow of the staircase, not the girl, not a hallucination. An older woman, her frame stooped, her hair silver, but her eyes sharp with recognition and sorrow. The years had carved lines into her face, but Arthur saw it now, the resemblance in the eyes, in the hesitation, in the unspoken ache between them. "Eliza," he whispered. She nodded. "I thought you were dead." "In a way," she said. "I was." A silence fell between them, not empty, but thick with memory and regret. She gestured to a dusty armchair, and he sat like a boy summoned to answer for something he couldn't name. "You were never supposed to become that man," she said quietly, "but they took you, rewrote your name, gave you to the Vances like a business transaction. Your father resisted. They destroyed him." Arthur's breath caught. "My father? Your real one, not Kenneth Vance." Her voice was bitter now. He was a man of conscience, a journalist. He uncovered something about the Vance empire, something they couldn't afford to let surface. You were the cost of his silence. The weight of her words sank into him like stones in a lake. His identity, his empire, his legacy built on erasure. "I don't remember him." "You were 3, but you felt him. Children know what memory forgets." Arthur stood, pacing. "Why now? Why send the girl?" "She's not real," Eliza said, her eyes glistening. "She's a fragment, a reminder, a piece of me and a piece of you, conjured by the mind when the soul can no longer bear silence." Arthur staggered back. "I'm hallucinating?" "No," she said. "You're remembering. Your truth was buried so deeply it had to find another way out." He sank to the floor, all the years, all the power, all the masks, undone not by scandal or failure, but by a forgotten woman with his eyes. "You're not just a man who lost himself," Eliza said, her voice softer now. "You're a man who was never given the chance to begin." He looked up at her. "What now?" "What?" She stepped closer, knelt beside him, and placed a trembling hand over his heart. "Now you begin again, but not as a Vance." He nodded slowly. Somewhere inside him, something cracked, and then opened. Not broken, freed. The silence of the following. Morning was not peaceful but resolute. Arthur hadn't slept. He sat before the cold fireplace in the Briar Hollow house, his eyes fixed on a dust-covered portrait above the mantel. A man with a gentle face, a restrained smile, holding a newborn in his arms. In the bottom corner, barely legible, the signature, Jonathan Morrow, 1980, his real father. The morning after the press conference, the world felt different, not quieter, never that. If anything, the noise had multiplied. Arthur's confession had exploded like a rupture in the global feed. Networks played his speech on repeat, dissecting every word, speculating on motives. Headlines screamed, "Arthur Vance resigns in bombshell confession. Tech titan exposes family's dark legacy. From power to penance, the collapse of a myth." Commentators clashed. Some called it a courageous act of integrity. Others branded it calculated, self-serving, even theatrical. Investors panicked, stocks plummeted. The Vance board of directors convened in an emergency session. Lawsuits were already being drafted, but Arthur wasn't there. He was alone, sitting in a small park bench in Central Park as the city moved past him in waves. Oblivious, distracted, alive. He didn't miss the power, but he missed the illusion of control. He had traded the armor of status for the naked discomfort of truth. And while he did not regret it, he was beginning to feel the tremors of the cost. The interviews he'd declined, the phones he'd stopped answering, his absence was fueling further speculation. Yet, the real reckoning wasn't in the media storm or market collapse. It was coming for him in the form of Kenneth Vance. The man who had raised him, the man who had built the empire on Arthur's back, a father by law, by reputation, but now exposed as an architect of theft. He arrived unannounced. Arthur heard the footsteps echo off the concrete floors of the penthouse foyer, before the voice cut through the tension like a blade. "I taught you better than to go out like that," Kenneth said coldly, entering the room without ceremony. Arthur didn't look up. "You didn't teach me anything. You taught Arthur Vance, not me." Kenneth's face, still sharp despite the decades, twisted slightly. Not with rage. Something worse. Disappointment, tightly coiled with contempt. "You're making a spectacle of yourself," he said, voice clipped. "Do you even understand what you've done?" Arthur finally looked up. "I told the truth. You betrayed the family." "I was never part of it." Kenneth stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Do you think this makes you noble? Do you think giving away your inheritance, our name, makes you free? You'll be forgotten in a year, replaced by the next headline. The world doesn't reward honesty, it swallows it." Arthur stood, facing him fully. "I'd rather be forgotten than live a life that wasn't mine." Silence. For a long moment, Kenneth studied him, not the polished public figure he had crafted, but the man standing before him, stripped of artifice. Something flickered in the older man's expression, a pause, a trace of respect or resignation, and then, "If you walk away from this, you'll never come back." Arthur nodded. "Good." Kenneth left without another word. When the door clicked shut behind him, Arthur felt no triumph, only quiet. He walked to the window and stared out over the city. The skyline still glittered. The world hadn't stopped, but somewhere in its rhythm, a space had opened for something different. Not legacy, not reputation, just honesty. The seed of a life lived without distortion. Behind him, the penthouse loomed like a museum of a life no longer his. He would leave it soon. No farewell party, no ceremony, just one man walking away from the lie that raised him and toward the truth that might someday allow him to live.